Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have John Yaworsky. He is an executive producer at Nimble Digital Media and creates award-winning content for organizations of all sizes. He is in Chicago. I have Glady Baradaran. She has 14 years of HR experience and a great love for organizational development based in Canada. And I have Mahoney. He is the co-founder of LaunchPoint Labs, a startup studio and early venture funds, where he is an expert in creating sales departments. He is currently in Oregon. The question I have today, if you don't personalize a holiday card, is it worth sending? John, what do you think?
Well, my first thought is no. It depends on what you're trying to do. I get Christmas holiday cards from multiple insurance companies and plumbers and roofers and all that. I keep them ironically because it has an old 50s photograph in it or something. I usually toss them. My wife and I have a fine arts background, so we have a tendency, the years that we send out cards, we personalize it. My wife's a printmaker, so she often is printed like original woodcuts or etchings and stuff. Wow. And then we've had several of our friends say that they framed the Christmas card. So not that that's
a bar right there, boy.
It doesn't have to go that way necessarily, but because of that takes a fair amount of time. So that only happens every other year or every couple of years when we both are a little less busy in November and December.
Oh, I would definitely, for me, the short answer is no. Don't send it. Unless if you have an ulterior motive. Like I know, like the plumbers send something because they want to have the new numbers and remind us that they're there to support us. So, but between friends and family, the one that they just send me one, I'm like, oh, it's cute. But after Christmas, I have a wall. I put everything after Christmas, it recycles. The one that they're personalized, I keep. So it's the emotional connection. And one thing I really like is lately friends, they send you a recipe for something. So when is added value to it, for sure I keep it. But if it's not, just don't send it. It goes to recycle.
I completely agree. But for the sake of conversation, I'm curious about the thoughts of, I've received Christmas cards from friends and family where it's not personalized to me, but it's more of like a summary of what has happened in their life over the past year. And would you consider that to be a personalized card, even though it's not necessarily saying, hey, Brandon, like, how are you? What's going on in your life? It's just a recap of what they've been going through in life.
I get some of those too. And I do struggle with those, Brandon, because if I get an envelope and it has an obviously printed sticker where all they did was print it and peel it and stick it on there. And then on the inside, there's a card that has, maybe it's been signed, maybe it hasn't. And then there's a letter in it that's like, here are our adventures from the last year. Like, it's nice to receive them, but I don't feel like, oh, they sent it to me because they love me.
I agree with that. But I know some people, they love it. We have multiple relatives that do exactly that. And my feeling is, as long as it wasn't written by Hallmark, it was personalized. So even if it's to hello all, and you know that it's going out to 140 people, it's kind of nice to hear about someone just graduated from high school and someone just got married and then someone else just got divorced and all those kind of family things.
But don't you see that on Facebook already? Because sometimes they send these things, but I'm like, I know all of it, unless if you're under a rock and you don't text message and you don't get any media, I understand. Yeah, I would tend to say I like it to be personalized for me and not like a generalized. But again, they're making an effort and they like doing it. I feel like it has to do with the intention, and they're doing it out of love. And I respect it and I always keep it. But then after Christmas, you're like, but then you're going to have boxes of cards.
And that's the thing, right? If you get one of the ones where that like they've taken pictures from their adventures and they send it to you and it's like, oh, that's really fun. At the end of the season, I'm always like, so do I put this in a file somewhere? Do I mail it to their children in 20 years? Like, what do I do with this now?
That's a good point. Holiday card archiving, right.
Yeah, and I struggle with that as well, because every now and again, I'll get a card and it's super personalized and super sweet, but what am I realistically going to do with that card in 4 or 5 years? I don't think I'm ever going to open it up again. It's not like I'm going to have friends over and I'm going to show it to them like, oh, look what this person said. But then I feel guilty if I throw it away at the same time.
So for me, like you all know, I like to send holiday cards and I do hand address them. And I write in the inside, I'll write a little blurb that's relevant to my relationship with that person. But I have absolutely no qualms about the fact that on January 1st or 7th or whatever day is your Christmas goes away day, that you send it to recycling. I'm fine with that, because my whole thing is I just want, when you open your mail, for you to say, oh, Robyn made me smile. That's my whole thing with Christmas cards or holiday cards.
I agree with that. The only thing I'll say about the form letter type things or the photographs and just generic is that sometimes it's fun to see the family photo every year when they've been coming for 15 or 20 years, just to see how the family changes. It's like, so that's kind of the passage of time is kind of represented that way. But that's probably the only way I'll give them a little bit of slack for not totally, at least personalizing or saying something and handwriting something.
I will add one thing. I turned the question around. I see, Dr. Robyn, you actually do it, but I'm one of those that I never do it. So why should I judge the person who's doing it?
That's fair.
Exactly.
That's fair. All right. So we've talked about it from like the personal aspect for the most part. We mentioned slightly the professional, the business side, where you get it from your plumber. There's a real estate agent from a different state who I'm obviously still, and I don't even remember like which house did he, how do I know this person? And I get stuff from him every year. And every year Russ and I are like, why are we on his list? So should you professionally go through periodically and purge your list? I do. Like, I have a Christmas list. I think I took 6 or 8 people off of it this year that I'm like, okay, I'm not interacting with them anymore. And so I didn't send them a card.
The nicest thing to do is to tell them, it's like, but I guess I could really see, I'm a little torn on that one, because they want to feel like they have a mailing list of 150 or 1,500 people. So
Right.
it might hurt their feelings. I know when I lose a couple Twitter followers, I take it personally. So
Right.
my argument is let them go and keep the
Is it
keep
fair,
the U.S.
though?
mail in business.
So Glady, what do you think? You started to say something.
No, going back, first of all, yes, you have to clean up your list. I feel like being harassed. I get those too. I'm like, when did I ever know this person? And why? But at the same time, they're so cute and they're just sending happy holidays. You see, again, the intention is good. Yes, they want my business. Thank you very much. All is good.
It's a little creepy when they follow you from house to house, though. That's a little weird, where you're
That's
like,
right.
how did you get my new address?
I agree.
Brandon, what do you think? Is it something like when you get those, because you've moved within the last 3 years, are you getting them still from your old like people? Did they find you?
No, the ones who have found me, the individuals who I speak with frequently enough that they knew I was moving, they knew I moved, and they asked for my new address.
Okay.
So anyone else, they're probably still sending it to my old address, which is totally fine because we haven't spoken obviously in enough time for them to know that I'm no longer there. But I have received a card from somebody I used to work with. I just got it this year, and I'm pretty sure the last time I interacted with them was when they sent the card last year. And so for me, it's like, as much as I do love getting the card, yeah, go through and update your mailing list.
Yeah.
Ever since I entered the witness protection program, I find that none of those cards follow me around. But I share what Brandon just said about. I notice on LinkedIn often the only time I interface with somebody when it's on, I wish them a happy birthday once a year, every year. And it's just at some point, I've been trying to think of a clever way of turning that into something, a meme or a post or something about, I think five happy birthdays in a row and no exchange might mean.
That's pretty generous, 5 years. Oh my goodness.
Disconnect. It's time to disconnect, I think.
Glad.
I would say I vote for electronic cards anytime before paper cards.
Really?
Unless
if
they're pictures of something I can keep. I don't know. I feel like it's not good for environment, all this stuff going to recycling.
That might be true. I did, when I got divorced and people kept sending me cards addressed to my ex-husband, especially like organizations soliciting, I did reach out and be like, you need to stop doing that. That is not a thing.
Yeah.
Return to sender.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, do not send me things to my ex-husband's name. That is not okay. So yeah, to your point, Glady, I want to touch on it real quickly about electronic cards. My concern with them is every time I click on one, I'm always like, is this a virus or is this real? I do have that hesitation every time.
Yeah.
And those don't feel personal to me at all. Like that's worse than sending me a like labeled envelope. That's our 10 minutes. I think this is a really fun conversation. Thank you for having it with me. And I look forward to speaking to each of you again really soon.